Hi everybody. Right, let's get Nicole. There we go. Everyone. Hi Joe. Let's get Nicole up, the wonderful Nicole. There we go. Hi. Oh, I'm really getting into these. I'm absolutely loving having my Tuesday afternoons. I get to come and chat to you all and share whatever's coming through at the time. Hi Joe. Good to see you. Hi. Hi gorgeous. How are you?
Good, how are
Oh,
you?
really good. I say we really love these, don't we? We kind of be messaging each other saying, just so nice to have like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to have a bit of a chat, and we get so many good questions. So I'm quite excited to see what comes through today.
I know I'm still buzzing after the whole mastermind class and stuff.
It's really good. It was really good. I really felt in proper like flow today. It was all coming through for everybody. So that was just amazing to be teaching on those kind of things.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good.
Thank
Really
you.
good.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, good.
we have some really interesting questions today, and I'm really excited. Hi, Hannah. Um, I'm glad she's here. Okay, so let's get started. I've been trying to figure out which one I want to ask first, but
Okay.
I think I'm going to switch it up and decide differently.
Okay.
So the first one, the person wanted to remain anonymous. When we procrastinate, could it be that we are in that hibernation period and we are flowing with higher purpose?
What a great question. It's interesting for me because the word procrastination has connotations of not allowing ourselves to truly be with what we think is
Mhm.
right for us. It's got that connotation, hasn't it? That I'm kind of dragging my feet, I'm not moving forwards. Whereas when we look at it differently, we can be in flow and hibernation and ease and beingness, and yet still have a momentum that's coming through for us. So I think it depends what's coming up in terms of the hibernation. I think it's if it's a or the procrastination, I should say, if your procrastination is based on fear, a fear of getting it wrong, dragging your feet because you don't have clarity or certainty in terms of the way that you want to move forward. That's one thing, and that's something to look at. If it's underpinned by a fear of failure, fear of movement, that's something. But that's different from being, yeah, that's different from taking that time to recalibrate, to connect in, to access other streams of consciousness. That's different. That's a different energy.
Mhm.
So for me, I just think it's the rephrasing of the word procrastination because it's all linked to forward movement, and we can be in the energy of doing huge amounts of self-discovery and connecting to our purpose and our passion whilst being still.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And that's kind of what I felt off of this question as well. The first thing that came to mind is the person would know, but they're resistant against some sort of process within them. And so that was my first intuition was is you have an inner knowing or a hunch
Yeah,
yourself of what you're going through.
absolutely.
Um, okay, so this next one's a little long.
Okay.
Um, but it's got a couple of really good questions within it.
Okay.
At the end of last week's Insta Live, oh, this is from Laura, a different Laura. She approved having her name. At the end of last week's Insta Live, Caroline spoke about not feeling well as stuff was coming up that she was working through. How can you tell that it's stuff coming up as a result of personal growth or expansion versus not feeling good, generally low of energy? I had a rough week last week following the full moon, and it's actually carried into this week too, which happens to be my winter. Am I just run down or am I about to have a breakthrough?
Well, aren't they related? Is what I would say. It's like, isn't any sort of uh, disharmony or feeling unwell or tired or lethargic linked to something either way, is what I would say. And I think that the key thing we need to look at here is like, what is your body asking you to honor? What's trying to come through for you? What is it that is trying to be expressed? And, you know, not making it mean something cerebrally, but trying to experience it in your body is like, well, what needs to be felt here? What needs to be experienced? And yeah, it might be because I'm about to have a big breakthrough, and it might be because I'm generally run down. But why do those two things have to be separate? You know, I know for me that in some of my periods of feeling most depleted and run down is when I do have those breakthroughs, because I allow myself to stop and listen to my body and what's trying to come through. So I'd encourage Laura to come in with that energy, is that actually, if her body is calling her to slow down, rather than jumping to, and when I slow down, it gives me that outcome. It's like, well, when I slow down, it allows me to recognize and experience what. And it's like when I got shingles working in the corporate world, that came after, you know, 3 weeks of doing yoga, of doing yin yoga, of going into my body and going into slowness in my body. It wasn't a conscious thing. It was being driven by my subconscious. I turned up on that retreat. I was moving my body. I was in my body. And as soon as I went fully into it, because I was immersed in movement every day, that's when it all started coming through, like how worn out and depleted and tired I was. And it was when I actually stopped and listened, that's when the messages really came through, and I had that huge clarity around, do you know what, I'm just not really in a great place. So I think that's what I'd encourage Laura to do, is like, rather than attaching it to meaning a certain outcome, let's really get into the physical body and say, well, what's trying to be expressed and heard and seen and loved here? And then from that, let's see what kind of clarity I can get from this state of being in observation. It's very difficult sometimes for us to get that clarity and those breakthroughs when we're on the go, or in the energy of doing. And when we're all in our head and our minds and our busyness, it's really difficult for us to get there. So I'm glad that she's honouring whatever's trying to come through. And I would suggest, yes, they go hand in hand. As you slow down and connect in, that's when some really big epiphanies tend to drop in.
I would love for you, if you're willing, to share your story about your Gammy eye.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting one, wasn't it? That wasn't, no, when was that? Was that November of last year? I feel
I
like, or
think so.
December.
November, December, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was really interesting, wasn't it? So I had a bit of a sore eye, and I was really sort of didn't feel quite right. Anyway, the next morning, you know, that I woke up and I looked like the elephant woman. I couldn't fully open it. It was all swollen. And I remember thinking, I wonder if this has like a significance, the fact it's on my eye. Maybe it has like a spiritual meaning, something that I need to realize. And the first thing that came through was like, my ego was like, oh, why do we have to make everything about that? Can't you just have a bad eye, Caroline? You know, maybe you just got a bad eye and it's one of those things. I was like, yeah, fine. So I was sort of with my eye. And then I was like, this is really strange, because I have literally been working on opening up my third eye. I've been working with my spiritual mentor about really opening up my ability to see more through the quantum, through my third eye. I was like, yeah, that is quite strange. It does seem to be a bit of a parallel. Then I was like, no, it's, you know, you're reading too much into it. And then literally I was kind of there, lying down, had a nap, woke up, and I heard the message, like, we are quite literally shutting off your sight here so that you can fully see and open up here. And then the weirdest thing was, two of my coaches and mentors who didn't know about my eye happened to get the message about me opening up my eye. And then was that when I had the teacup as well, with the, yeah, with my great, that was, I mean, really bizarre. Then when my eye healed, and I did have a great spiritual ascension, a spiritual upgrade, I had a cup next to me, And my great grandmother, as many people, I used to read tea leaves very accurately and cards and predict the future. And I looked down at the bottom of my drink, and I'll just have to find the picture right now and see if we can load it. I'll have it somewhere. And when I looked down at my teacup, there was the exact shape of an eye with the pupil just sitting at the bottom of my cup. And I thought, that's quite extraordinary. I'll find the picture and share it, because I think I shared it on a group somewhere, so I'll have it. But yeah, amazing. So I think that it's really interesting to explore. I'm always very interested in what my body's trying to guide me to. What's it trying to tell me? What's it trying to show me when certain things are twinging? Our bodies are incredibly clever. So really spending the time listening to it rather than being in our head is very, very powerful.
Okay, so this will
Who would have thought we would talk about teacups and eyes and all those things? But you know me, anything's on the table. So yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
And we never know what's going to come up. So none of this is prepared. And Caroline rarely sees the questions unless you message her through Instagram.
Yeah.
So the next one is, I have found allowing my spiritual side of me coming through my coaching business is a little scary at times. Are you ever worried people will be turned off by your unique approach to coaching?
I was at the beginning, for sure. It really took me a while to fully own it. I was really scared about that. I was scared that people would think I was nuts, or that it wasn't something I could rely on, it wasn't appropriate. But I recognized that was part of my conditioning. We talked a lot about that in the free masterclass today. And yeah, I think there is a part of us that has been taught, particularly as women, to fear that level of intuition, that ability to tap into that level of consciousness, for sure. But honestly, when I started fully owning it, talking about it, using it, my soul expanded. The kind of clients that I was attracted to were just like, oh. And the thing is, I don't have to be for everybody. You don't have to be for everybody. It's not about us trying to fit into a mold for other people. This is about us fully embodying and owning and leading from the place that is true to us and our truest essence. And then from there, I promise you, the right people, the amazing soul aligned clients will find you, and you will work with them. And those people who are turned off from it simply aren't your people. And the thing is, I could go out there and I could do a lot of very, very traditional coaching. I could go into the corporate world and do those kind of models of coaching, but it doesn't bring me alive. It doesn't feed my soul. It doesn't allow me to fully expand into all my capabilities. And when I'm in my flow and I'm using my intuition, and like you saw today, when I'm in that zone, it's just like I'm being filled up with light. It's the best way that I can explain it. And because of that, it brings me alive. So it brings the people around me and the people that I'm serving and helping alive. And that's what we need to focus on, not trying to make ourselves fit into what other people want. Go and own who you are and the message that you have, and you will magnetize people to you.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Okay, the next one's about downloads.
Okay.
What do you do when you receive a download, but you're not quite sure if it's aligned yet?
If it's what? Yeah.
If it's not quite aligned with you yet?
Okay. Aligned with you. Let me just feel into that question. Okay. So what it feels like is that you're getting messages and inspiration and guidance coming through, but there's part of you that is running it through a filter of the cerebral. Often the things that I get come through are really inconvenient. It's like, you want me to do what? And oh my God, and that is scary. And how's that going to work? And what's that going to mean about my business? And that is madness. And that's illogical. And how's that going to happen? All those things come up, yeah? But ultimately, like, I can follow the inspired action and guidance or not, but that question feels to me as if it's being asked, it's running through the wrong filter. Like, our job is to recognize the guidance, the inspiration that's trying to flow through, and take the aligned action from that place. And honestly, it does feel inconvenient sometimes, and it does feel like, you want me to do what? So, and we don't always, sometimes it is scary, and sometimes we're like, oh, I will wait a bit, and you've got to trust yourself that you'll move and be guided in divine timing. I think that's really important to say, because this isn't about you getting something coming through and then you know forcing yourself to act on something that doesn't feel expansive for you. But it's really interesting, is it because it doesn't feel expansive for you, or is it because you're running it through a filter about how suitable or logical or how it's going to come together? So really honor those messages. And I have been given so many messages, as you know, on a daily basis that come through, and sometimes they just don't make sense, and then I see how the pieces fit together. It's absolutely fascinating. So I really encourage you to just honor and keep a note of what's coming through, and then trust in divine timing that you will know where to act. But yeah, there does feel an energy of that in the question of doubting, but from a place of, it doesn't make logical sense. Yeah, but how does it feel? Like, that's what you've got to ask yourself.
Okay. Okay. When you are birthing something, what does that look like, and who do you call upon to manifest it?
Oh, I love that question. When I'm birthing something, what does it look and feel like? This is generally the pattern that I go through, but I don't want people to create a story about this as the way that it has to be for them. This is just usually what I experience. Usually a period of a desire to deal with some icky stuff that comes up. Something will come up, and I'm like, oh God, look at this. And I kind of tend to go quite quiet. You've probably seen this. You've been on my team long enough. I just retreat a little bit. I'll be a bit quiet. I'll be very open that I'm kind of working through things that are coming up. I work through those, and then I tend to start shifting and rearranging beliefs and moving things and getting rid of some energy that doesn't suit me. And then I create space. And then usually I go into a period of quite quietness where I'm just being quite a lot. So I'm being with nature, I'm being with myself. And then what I find is there's just like this feeling that something's trying to move through me. And it honestly feels like I kind of need to grab a pen and a paper and I start writing. And I honor that. I honor being open to that stream of consciousness, and I'm kind of making notes and seeing what's coming through without trying to box it off and make sense of it, just allowing that process to come through, to be birthed through me. Yeah, to let it be a really natural process where something just moves through me, and I make the notes. Then when I feel that's come through me, I then tend to take it and say, well, what would that mean if I was to pull that into humanness, if I was to ground it into my reality? Is there a program? Is there a book? Am I being asked to drop something in my business, or gain something in my business, or give more attention to this area of my life? And then I tend to do that, and I'll sit with it, and I will come up with something around that feels good in my body. Like, I've got to help coaches coach and mentor in a different way, and they need to know how to build a business alongside that. So I'm going to do the Caroline Britton Intuitive Coaching Academy, and who's that for, and what does it feel like? And then I start building on it. What would be included? What feels right? What price feels right? What experts do they need? When am I going to start it? When feels good for me? And I go through all of that process, and then you'll see it. You've seen it with the team. I will literally send an email out and say, this has been birthed. You will get almost like a summary of my stream of consciousness, and then I'll say, this is what I'm thinking we're going to do, and it's handed over to the team, which I'm very lucky to have now. But before, when I didn't have the team, I would do this, and I will sit and I will turn it into something relatively tangible that can go out into the world. Does that answer all the question? There were two parts, but it does.
Yeah, no, that totally answers the question. Well, it'll be answered in the next one anyway. Can you tell us a little bit about archangels and how you call upon them and what your process is for connecting to them?
Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, there's many different realms of angels and archangels. Archangels are sort of higher frequency light beings that we can call upon. You know, people will be familiar with Zadkiel and Chamuel and Michael and Gabriel and Uriel and so on, Metatron. And the way that I experience angels is I kind of experienced them before I knew about them. So I kind of felt the different energy that would come in. So like kind of Metatron for me was a bit like green flashing lights. They're very electric in feel when I sort of close my eyes. And different archangels have different colors and so on. I've actually gone on to study and do programs on archangels and attuning to the frequency of archangels, which I'm teaching at another one of my programs at the moment. But what I would say to you is to you could look at somebody like Kyle Gray. Even Gabrielle Bernstein covers it in her book Super, I think it's Super Attractor. Kyle Gray is a pretty good one in terms of just finding out a little bit more. They have different colors, they have different things they can help you with, they have different energies. Learn a little bit about them, see who you feel compelled to work with. And then what's really important is that as you're kind of working with them, I like to kind of go into what I call channel, where I open it up, fully ground myself, kind of balance out my chakras, and then I call upon the energy of what wants to come through. And you can find brilliant like kind of incantations, ways of calling them in that they react to, and feel the energy that comes through and be really familiar with what Chamuel feels like, or Gabriel feels like, or Archangel Michael feels like, and just start playing with the energy of that with them. And I find that I tend to work with three, and they're the ones that I've been really attracted to, which is Metatron, which is Michael, and which is Chamuel. I'm always working with Chamuel when I lose something or I need to find something in my business. Michael for protection and support, and Metatron really for kind of that inspiration and guidance, and sometimes other layers of protection. But they have a different feeling for me, a different frequency that they kind of hold in my body. So I'd really like people to kind of play with that. But just make sure you're grounding yourself, you're clearing your space, you're going into channel, you're welcoming angels and archangels of the highest good and light and vibration who unconditionally love you. Hold that space. Just let yourself open up and see what wants to come through.
Amazing.
It's a very short summary. If I could go on for ages about it, but yeah.
I'm sure you could, and I know we'll be mindful of your time today. Okay, so we had one more question, and then we had a new request for a new type of ending, which I think will be interesting.
Oh, okay.
You talked a little bit last time about paradigms, and I would love to know if you could elaborate on some of the paradigms that you've experienced or lived.
I mean, there's millions of different paradigms that we can buy into. They're basically kind of a set of an energy container of certain beliefs and stories and things that we're available for. I've existed in the corporate world in a paradigm of you follow your head over your heart, you hustle, you seek external validation, your worth comes from the views of others, a paradigm of not being good enough, of not being worthy enough, not being capable enough, not being as bright as all the smart people that I worked with, of money being hard and restrictive, things being difficult. I've been in that paradigm. I've been in the paradigm now where it's ease and flow, and the more I follow soul, the more things open up, that money's always there for me, that money loves me and wants to support me, that I get to do work that's a great service and be highly compensated for it, that the more that I open up and I'm with the energy that wants to come through, the more inspiration and opportunities open up. I've been in paradigms with the business at the beginning where I can only make money if I'm doing one-to-one clients and I'm hustling and I have to work out how they find me and I need to be busy and I've got to climb the mountain of my coaching business. And then I've been in the paradigm where it gets to be easy and flow and people just find me. And yeah, you know, I've worked through all of them, and it's all about you know, the set of beliefs that you're available for. And it's, you know, don't give yourself a hard time about whatever it is for you. I think it's really important to recognize the paradigm that you've picked, the room, the set of beliefs, the container that you've picked for your life, and then ask yourself, does it feel good, and is it ultimately serving me, and is it getting me to where I want to be in this container? And actually, if you want to be in the container over there, like, what are the belief systems there? What are the stories? What are the views of yourself over there? Like, what is it you want to create? And this is the exciting thing. You can create any paradigm that you want, but let's really recognize the paradigm you've chosen to exist in now. And is that the one you actually want to be in? That's a great question for everybody to think about today.
And that falls right in line with kind of the request that we've had. This has been a very soul-led week. I think it's really interesting. There's kind of like feelings and themes to each week. So normally I ask you, you know, what's been coming up for you. But the request was if we could end a little bit differently, and if you could tune into some energy work today and see what comes through.
Okay. Well, it's interesting you say that, because as I came up for this call, I felt compelled to journal before I came up. Again, I've been journaling a lot today between sessions. I had a really interesting conversation with my mentor cat earlier, and this is what I want to share today. She was saying that sometimes we sort of take little breaths of air in and out, like inhale and exhale, tiny bits of air. We've got all this oxygen available to us, or we can take these huge breaths in and huge breaths out, and we're sort of in the corner, you know, just taking our little bits. And it got me thinking about just myself and my life, and thinking about let's call it the pie, you know, that we feel is available to us. And how, even though, you know, my business is very successful, how I always feel like it's like I just take a little bit of the pie, a little bit of the pie. And then I was like, but what about if I could take as much of the pie as I wanted, because the pie was infinite and it's not taking away from anybody else's pie. It's all about the metaphors today. And that the pie just kept replenishing. And that's what it was about. And then I really felt into this like energy of, yeah, like everything is available. And that's what the energy feels like today. Is like everything is available. The whole spectrum of being and showing up and living. Are you taking little tiny breaths in the corner? Are you scared to step out and fully claim anything that you can? And that's what my desire is for people today around the energies, to really think about putting more on the table for yourself, taking more, allowing more to come through. Deeply grounding yourself in your deservingness of having all that you desire. And I can do something on that quickly for everybody. If we can just like close our eyes, we can just put our hands on our chest. And if everybody could just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. And just come into that heart space beneath your hands. Just feel into the areas of your heart space, the space in which you receive all this abundance and opportunities, where you shut it down and closed it off. As you've built walls, where you've created blocks around it. And then repeat this mantra: I'm deserving of opening up and receiving all that is mine by divine right. And as you do that, just feel that space begin to respond. I am worthy and deserving of opening up and receiving all that is mine by divine right. And use your breath. You can even use your hands and imagine yourself opening up. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. I could literally sit like that for hours, but that's a really nice energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just feel how it grounds
Mm-hmm.
you, drops you, and opens you out. So I'd really love everybody to just have a play with that one.
Okay, that's all we have for this week.
Thank you. I'll go and do the school run for the Munchkins. Thank you so much, as ever. Lots of love. And
if you have any questions, you can email them to Nicole at Caroline-Britton.com or message me.
And we'll see you next week. And we're doing Monday next week because I'm doing another energy certification day. So yeah, I'll be busy on Tuesday doing that all day. But we'll do our live on Monday, won't we? Next week.
Yes, 2 p.m. UK time.
Oh, okay. I'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Lots of love. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.